On a crisp Halloween night, the small town of Hollowbrook stood eerily quiet, shrouded in a heavy mist that seemed to crawl from the woods like the fingers of unseen hands. The moon hung low, its light dimmed by the dense clouds overhead. The town had long been accustomed to the strange occurrences surrounding the old Hollowbrook Manor, perched atop the highest hill, overlooking the town with a watchful, haunted gaze. The manor had been abandoned for decades, but rumors persisted that every Halloween, the spirits of its former inhabitants returned. Some said it was just superstition, but others, the locals, the ones who knew better, swore it was true. And so, on that particular Halloween night, when the clock struck midnight, the winds began to howl, and the veil between the living and the dead grew thin. Lena, a curious and fearless teenager, had heard the stories about the manor since she was a child. Her friends had often dared each other to venture to its gates, but none of them had ever managed to get past the rusted iron fences that surrounded the estate. Tonight, though, something felt different. The air was thick with anticipation, and as the Halloween fog curled around her feet, Lena felt a strange pull toward the manor, a pull she couldn't ignore. "Are you sure about this, Lena?" her best friend, Ellie, asked nervously, clutching her sweater tightly. "The manor is cursed. People have gone in and never come out." Lena turned to Ellie with a mischievous grin. "Cursed? That's just a story. Besides, it's Halloween. What better time to see if the rumors are true?" Ellie hesitated, but seeing the determined spark in Lena's eyes, sighed. "You're insane, you know that, right?" The two girls, along with their group of friends, slowly made their way through the town's quiet streets. The wind howled as they approached the iron gates of Hollowbrook Manor. The gates, which were usually locked tight, were wide open tonight, as if inviting them inside. "Looks like we're not the only ones curious," Lena whispered. They entered the manor's grounds, the crunch of leaves beneath their feet the only sound breaking the silence. The mansion loomed ahead, its tall, Gothic spires disappearing into the mist above. Its windows, though dark, seemed to shimmer in the moonlight, as if something, or someone, was watching. Inside, the air was musty and heavy with the scent of decay. The floorboards creaked beneath their feet as they cautiously made their way through the manor's grand hall. Cobwebs adorned every corner, and faded portraits of long-dead ancestors stared down at them with lifeless eyes. "This place is giving me the creeps," Ellie whispered, her voice shaking. Lena, however, was undeterred. "It's just an old house, Ellie. Let's explore." The group made their way deeper into the manor, their flashlights casting eerie shadows on the cracked walls. In one room, a grand staircase spiraled upwards, disappearing into the darkness above. Lena led the way, her feet light as she ascended the stairs. The others followed hesitantly, their nerves growing with each step. At the top of the stairs, they found a long, dimly lit corridor lined with doors on either side. The walls were adorned with ancient tapestries, their colors faded but still haunting in their portrayal of unknown creatures and forgotten tales. One door, however, stood out. It was old and weathered, but it was slightly ajar, as though waiting for them. Without hesitation, Lena pushed it open, and the group stepped into the room. It was a library, dusty, yet still impressive. Shelves filled with ancient books lined the walls, and in the center of the room stood a grand, ornate desk. On the desk was an open book, its pages yellowed with age. Lena walked over and ran her fingers along the pages. "It's all in Latin," she said, squinting at the writing. "But this looks like a spell book." "Spells? What kind of spells?" Ellie asked, her voice trembling. Before Lena could answer, the doors slammed shut behind them with a deafening bang. They all jumped, their hearts pounding in their chests. The temperature in the room dropped, and a cold, eerie wind swept through the library, causing the candles to flicker and the shadows to dance on the walls. The sound of whispering voices filled the air, growing louder with every passing second. Lena felt a chill run down her spine, but her curiosity pushed her forward. She opened the book wider, her eyes scanning the pages. Suddenly, the ground beneath them shook, and a loud, guttural voice echoed through the room. "Leave, now, or suffer the consequences." Lena's heart raced, but she couldn't pull herself away from the book. She was too deep in the mystery now. "It's just a trick," she muttered, her voice shaking. "It has to be." But the whispers grew louder, more insistent. The air around them seemed to pulse with energy, and the walls began to close in, as though the house itself was alive and angry. Ellie screamed, tugging on Lena's sleeve. "We need to get out of here, now!" But it was too late. The book began to glow, its pages flipping wildly on their own. Lena backed away, but the glow from the book seemed to pull her in, drawing her toward it, until she was standing directly in front of the desk. "Stop!" Ellie shouted. But Lena was lost, her eyes wide and unblinking as she gazed at the words on the pages. Suddenly, the floorboards cracked open beneath them, and a cold, skeletal hand reached up from the darkness below. The room filled with a bone-chilling wail as the ground began to tremble violently. "Get away from the book!" a voice hissed from the shadows. Ellie grabbed Lena by the arm and pulled her away from the desk, just as the skeletal hand burst forth from the floor. It was followed by a whole army of spirits, their glowing eyes and hollow faces twisted in anguish. The group ran, the room behind them collapsing into darkness as the spirits howled in fury. They reached the staircase, but the entire manor seemed to be coming alive, with doors slamming shut and windows rattling in their frames. They fled down the stairs, their footsteps echoing through the manor. As they reached the front door, it slammed shut with a thunderous bang, trapping them inside. The spirits, now fully risen, swarmed the hallways, their cold fingers reaching out for the intruders. In that moment, Lena realized the truth. The manor had been waiting for them, and it would never let them leave. As the clock struck midnight, the spirits of Hollowbrook Manor claimed another group of souls. The manor's dark history had repeated itself once again, trapping the living in its haunted halls for eternity. Outside, the mist rolled in, swallowing the town of Hollowbrook as if it had never been there at all. And so, the manor remained, a place of fear and mystery, forever cursed by the spirits that called it home. On the following Halloween, the gate to Hollowbrook Manor was open once more. But this time, no one dared enter. For the story of Lena and her friends had become another warning, another tale whispered in the streets, telling of the curse that haunted Hollowbrook Manor, and the fate that awaited those who dared to challenge it.